All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here. Take a look at the screen for today's talking points. I encourage you guys to participate in the discussion today and help shape the conversation by leaving your comments in the comment section. If you could like and share the show, that would mean a lot to us. A lot of news on the Friday edition of today's program. There are a lot of people being discussed for the Sally Hudson seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. We'll pass along some of that, some of what we're hearing to you today on the program. We'll also talk some moves from the UVA Foundation that apply to the Hotel and Conference Center, including the promotion of friend of the program, Russ Kronberg, on today's show. We'll talk the impact of the Champion Beer news on Charlottesville and Central Virginia today. Judah Woodcarroll will join us on that discussion. I'm going to ask the question, why don't we have sports bars, more sports bars in the area? Why no sports bar in downtown Charlottesville? Why no sports bar in Crozet? Think about that. Why is there no sports bar in Crozet? We'll talk, who is the most marketable UVA athlete on today's show? A lot to cover. Give the show a like and a share. Look at the screen now. Look at the screen. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your friends about the topics we're going to talk about on the show by looking at the headlines on screen. And help us spread the gospel. That is the I Love CVille show on a, how would you characterize the weather? Chilly? You also need to get those iPads in the right scenario over there, J-Dubs. Sally Hudson's seat is coveted by a lot of people. We'll tell you who and why on the program today. We'll also talk about the Roback-Kie Clark partnership and ask the question, who's the most marketable UVA athlete, regardless of sport? A lot of topics on a chilly Friday right before the weekend. J-Dubs, things are looking good on my end. We can rock and roll in T-minus 5 seconds on my end. If you are good to go, got a 2-shot and your mic turned on, sir.
Quiet on the set.
Good Friday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us. A pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love CVille network. Today we're presented by the Clifton in Keswick. The Clifton in Keswick, just a fantastic place for date night, memorable outings, weddings and events, and on Sunday morning, brunch with Kris Kringle himself, Santa Claus, at the Clifton for brunch this Sunday morning. Moms and dads, here's your chance to get photos with Santa and have a fantastic brunch at the Clifton in Keswick. A lot we're going to cover on today's show. We'll take a look at who could be running for Sally Hudson's seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. A lot of names are being discussed. We've been on top of this on the I Love CVille network. And a new name about to enter the mix as Sally Hudson is running for state senate. Today's program will also talk UVA Foundation promoting friend of the program Russ Kronberg to a new position. Russ will be the Director of Hospitality after serving as the General Manager for Boar's Head Resort for 6 years. We'll give you insight into this promotion as Russ Kronberg is now the top dog when it comes to not only the Boar's Head Resort, not only Burwood Golf Course, not only the sports club at Boar's Head, but now the Director of Hospitality for the new UVA Hotel and Conference Center. So he's managing quite a bit of the foundation's properties and brands. Russ is a stand-up guy, huge fan of Russ. Someone get Russ watching the show and let him know we're going to highlight his promotion today on the program. We'll talk Champion Brewing Company. The news continues to evolve. We now have confirmation that Champion is going to outsource a good percentage of their brewing to a North Carolina company. This North Carolina beer brewing company, D9 Brewing in North Carolina, is going to be making a lot of Champion's beers moving forward according to recent ABC label approvals. So a lot of this is moving from this area into another state altogether. We'll talk about this and the impact it's going to have on Charlottesville and Central Virginia today on the program. Speaking of beer, James River Brewery in Scottsville, Judah, you put this on my radar, has won Brewery of the Year. That's a big deal. A tiny brewery in Scottsville has been named the Brewery of the Year by the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. We love James River Brewery here. We love Scottsville here. We'll highlight this award on the I Love CVille show. We will also discuss the most marketable UVA athlete active of any athlete in the athletic department at the University of Virginia. Which athlete would you want to build a name, image, and likeness marketing and branding campaign around? Guy or gal? My answer may surprise you. And then I'll close with this topic. Why do we not have more sports bars in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? Seriously, who can think of one brand that is a sports bar, literally a sports bar, in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? Is the only sports bar in Charlottesville and Central Virginia Buffalo Wild Wings on Route 29? I would describe Lazy Parrot on Pantops as a sports bar. Besides Buffalo Wild Wings, and Judah, you think about it, besides Buffalo Wild Wings and Lazy Parrot, what are the sports bars in Charlottesville and Central Virginia? I'm asking you genuinely, viewers and listeners, that question. Why, with an ACC team right here that is phenomenally talented, I mean, Virginia athletics is great at every sport except for football. Every other sport it's fantastic at. Why do we not have more sports bars? If you wanted to watch sports in Crozet, Virginia, where are you going to watch sports in Crozet? Why is there no sports bar in Crozet? Why is there no sports bar in Keswick, in Earlysville? Why is there no sports bar on the downtown mall in Charlottesville? I'm genuinely curious of that question. Let's go to the studio camera, and then we'll welcome you on a two-shot after you hit that studio camera. Viewers and listeners, give the show a like and a share, and join us in the discussion. Kevin Yancey says Pro Renata is a sports bar. Pro Renata is a great space to watch sports, but I would not characterize that necessarily, my friend Kevin Yancey, and I appreciate that suggestion, as a sports bar. I would call that a brewery who happens to have televisions for viewing sports. I'm talking a straight-up sports bar. Judah Wickower, let's go to you on a two-shot so I can wish you a good afternoon. I thought you did a hell of a job adapting on the fly. Kathy Galvin joined us on Real Talk. That's one of the things I love about being downtown.
Yeah.
In this week alone, we've had Kathy Galvin walk by our studio. We waved to her. Mm-hmm. She came in and she sat down unplanned on Real Talk. This week alone, Tito Durrett, the interim police chief, has walked by a handful of times. Huge fans of Tito Durrett on the I Love CVille network. Mayor Lloyd Snook walks by routinely the I Love CVille network. That's why this network is downtown. It still continues to be the heartbeat of Central Virginia. Vanessa Parkhill, that's who I think the campaign should be built around. I'll get to the Queen of Earlysville comments here in a matter of moments. Let's get to the lead topic of today's show. Sally Hudson, who's been on the I Love CVille network a handful of times. Sally Hudson's first campaign office was in my building, the Macklin building, where she rented an office from us in the Macklin building, Sally Hudson. Sally Hudson now challenging Creigh Deeds in the Virginia State Senate. Creigh Deeds moves into the newly formed district to continue his career in politics. While Sally Hudson and Creigh Deeds are both Democrats, they're Democrats of very different persuasions. I think that primary is going to be a hotly contested primary. I think Sally Hudson's going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 from kingmaker Sonia Smith out of the gates. And I'm hearing that $250,000 could get as high as $500,000 from Sonia Smith, the kingmaker. Creigh Deeds is an institution. He's a legacy. Ran for governor one time. This is going to be a hotly contested Democratic primary. I want to put that to a side now, and I want to get to this news. If you want to go on a one-shot, so the folks can see the headlines. Katrina Colson, Albemarle County School Board member. The word on the political street is Katrina Colson is going to run for Sally Hudson's seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. Katrina Colson has made a name for herself on the Albemarle County School Board. And now, like many folks who run for school board, she's looking to climb the political totem pole. Someone get Katrina Colson in the mix. Send her a direct message or a text, or give her a phone call and let her know she's the lead of the I Love CVille show today. So that's the chatter. Katrina Colson running for delegate. We broke the news on the I Love CVille network that former Charlottesville Mayor Dave Norris is very much considering the Virginia House of Delegates open seat. In fact, I'll read specifically what he sent us on November 22nd. He said, Jerry, and I quote, "I'm on vacation with my daughter in Ireland, but I will definitely give it some thought when I return to town. It's an intriguing possibility, and Sally has big shoes to fill." Dave Norris, I think, would make a strong candidate for Virginia House of Delegates. And we're hearing Ned Galloway of the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors is very much considering this seat in the Virginia House of Delegates. Those are three established names. Katrina Colson, Albemarle County School Board, Dave Norris, one-time mayor, Charlottesville City, Ned Galloway, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. How would the politics play out if you have these three people running for the Virginia House of Delegates? Do Ned Galloway and Katrina Colson have brand recognition or name recognition outside of Albemarle County? Do Katrina Colson and Ned Galloway have name recognition that can penetrate Charlottesville City voters? Is Dave Norris's name recognition tied specifically to Charlottesville City? And can his brand penetrate Albemarle County voters? A lot of political science there. Will one of these three run potentially as an independent? Because the Democratic primary would be very hotly contested. You run as an independent, you sidestep the primary. Will other individuals think about running for Virginia House of Delegates? Ziana Bryant's name has come up in political circles as a potential candidate for the Virginia House of Delegates. Yes, the student at the University of Virginia, Ziana Bryant. I think you're going to see this race have significant levels of engagement with candidates that have qualifications that appeal to voters of today. Katrina Colson, who's on the school board, has made a name for herself. School board members in 2022, almost 2023, are becoming household names when maybe 5 years ago, no one outside political junkies, outside teachers, central office employees knew who these school board members were. Now the names are recognized and known. Dave Norris has a very high profile in this community. Ziana Bryant, while she's had no political experience, undoubtedly has a high profile in this community. And if she can get the backing of a rainmaker like Sonia Smith, she can make a push for a seat like this. Ned Galloway, a two-term supervisor in Albemarle County, has got a high profile. We'll see how the cookie crumbles. We'll see what the primary looks like, and we'll see if any one of these chooses to run as an independent to sidestep a primary. Fresh news for you, undoubtedly. The Katrina Colson delegate chitter chatter. Another topic I want to talk about, and then we'll weave you in on the beer topics. This is from the UVA Foundation. The University of Virginia Foundation has promoted friend of the program Russ Kromberg. Russ was the general manager of the Boar's Head Resort for 6 years. They created a new position for Mr. Kromberg, the Director of Hospitality. In this new position as the Director of Hospitality, Russ Kromberg will oversee the Foundation's hospitality operations, including the new UVA Hotel and Conference Center, the Boar's Head Sports Club, and the Birdwood Golf properties. Russ is a stud. He's got pedigree, resume, experience, connections, leadership, knows how to play the game. Taking someone who, right down the road at the Boar's Head for 6 years, has done a hell of a job, and giving them the opportunity to run the conference center and the hotel, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from the Boar's Head itself, I think was a smart move by the foundation. I think the foundation realizes that it's going to have consistency with employment atop the totem pole with these new properties, the hotel and conference center, for it to have a transition that's seamless, not only with the UVA community, but perhaps even more importantly, the Albemarle and Charlottesville community. It's no secret that UVA is buying up much of the property along Ivy Road, and I've said on this program I expect that that area to look very, very different in the next 10 to 15 years, maybe even shorter, to the point you might not even recognize it. I think the Lewis Mountain neighborhood is going to turn into student housing, much like Jefferson Park Avenue has done. I think you'll see Academic Village 2.0 along Ivy Road, and you're certainly seeing the sidewalk connecting the Boar's Head to grounds for quality of life and for pedestrian enjoyment. Fresh news for you. General Manager of the Boar's Head, Russ Kromberg, has now been promoted to a new position, the Director of Hospitality, where he now will oversee not just the Boar's Head, not just the sports club, not just the Birdwood properties, golf, but now the conference center and the hotel. I want to get to beer news, Judah. Let's weave you in on a two-shot. First, let's get to some positive news. James River Brewery in Scottsville has been named the Brewery of the Year in Virginia by the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. Yep. This honor includes a plaque and recognition from Senator Mark Warner. James River Brewery, in a lot of ways, is the heartbeat of the town of Scottsville. Mm-hmm. Much like Tavern on the James. Those two bookends are the heartbeat of downtown Scottsville. If you want an opportunity to get to know what's going on in the community, you go to Tavern on the James, you go to James River Brewery.
Yep.
We've had the staff of James River Brewery on this set. We like their beer. I love the beer garden, and I love the intimacy of the brewery itself, where you're bellied up to a bar in close proximity to other patrons and the beer keep, him or herself.
Yeah. Great people there from the servers to the brewers to the clientele.
Right. And for the brewery in Scottsville to get this award shows how far it's come from its launch to now.
No doubt.
Because there were some vulnerable points for this brewery and its future. And it's gotten stabilized with staffing and with its beer, and it seems to be, certainly by us, very, very well received.
Definitely.
And we applaud them for that hard work. That's the positive news from local beer. We have some concerning news from local beer as well. It's no secret, and we talked about this earlier in the week, that Champion Brewing Company and its many brands and businesses within the Champion Hospitality Group are struggling right now.
Yeah, definitely on the ropes.
On the ropes, to say the least. On the ropes with payroll, on the ropes with staff job security, frankly, on the ropes with just being able to keep the lights on at some of these places. The grill closed in Stonefield, Champion, with the sign on the door, and that's how much of the staff found out that that restaurant was closed. They showed up to work, there was a piece of paper on the door saying the business is closed.
Yeah.
That's in Stonefield, the old rock salt location.
It's a sad way to do it.
Sad way to do it. Difficult way to do it. Some would say not the right way to do it, including us. We're hearing that the Champion Ice House in Gordonsville is going through a rebranding itself, where the Champion name will be distanced from the signage and the marquee, and it will be known early next year as just Ice House,
Yeah.
as Craig Hartman takes the reins as the shot caller in a fantastic fried chicken joint in a adorable and cute town of Gordonsville. You read and research ABC, yes, ABC, the folks that manage, oversee booze in Virginia, and you read labeling. This is from Cheers Virginia, a brand that follows booze in the Commonwealth very closely. Cheers Virginia recently posted on social media, according to recent ABC label approvals, Champion seems to be moving to have at least some of their beers contract brewed through D9 Brewing in North Carolina. D9 Brewing in North Carolina is also where a head brewer of Champions moved to be a master brewer several years ago, so there's a connection there.
Interesting.
Reason Beer, who was acquired, and I use the word air quotes, by Champion, seems to be going dark. And by going dark, I mean closing,
Yeah.
evaporating.
It's a shame.
So I ask you, Judah Wickower, the impact of this news on the Charlottesville and Central Virginia craft beer ecosystem. I have some ideas. I'm curious of yours.
The impact of all of this on on our
Craft beer in Central Virginia.
Well, it'll possibly give some other brands a chance to take up some market share. And sadly, Reason, I think, was they were, I think, largely focused on getting their beer out there rather than having a large in-person presence. So it'll be a shame if they get shut down altogether, taken off the shelves. Other than that, who knows? We've seen a lot of changes recently, what with Wild Wolf selling and brands coming and going.
Is this an indication of an oversaturated market? Or is this an indication of poor management atop the totem pole? Fiscal irresponsibility atop the champion totem pole?
Sounds like both. I don't know that we're... Actually, I don't know that we're oversaturated. I think we have some places that aren't well advertised. Can you ever really have too much beer?
I disagree on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Portland, Maine. I was very surprised not too long ago to find out is a major craft brewery center.
Philip Dow says, I think the King of Scottsville, I think the explosion of new breweries popping up is having an impact on people. Look, I agree. I agree, Philip Dow. I think we're at a saturation point. I think we're at a saturation point with beer, with wine, with cider, vineyards, wineries, distilleries. We're at a saturation point. And I think what's sustained this saturation point, we did a list a couple of weeks ago of wineries, breweries, cideries, distilleries, vineyards in the Central Virginia area within like 30 miles of Charlottesville. Remember that list? We came up with like 50 points of sale within 30 miles of Charlottesville City. 50 options for you, the consumer, to have beer, wine, cider, or liquor made in Central Virginia for you to spend your dollars on. And I think this is what's happening. We have, for long periods of time, economic positive scenarios, wealth in the area, people that love to support local. Mm-hmm. So much money to spend on beer, wine, cider, liquor. But since COVID, where for an extended period of time, some of these liquor, beer, wine brands had to take mortgages against their house, loans for their business to survive, lines of credit, HELOCs, hard money lending, you name it, that was utilized for these F&B businesses to survive. That scenario put a lot of backs against the walls. And then now we have 2022, a time of inflation and disposable income tighter than ever.
Yeah.
Next year, I think that's going to be the case as well. We're finally facing headwinds as opposed to tailwinds for alcohol that generally is recession-proof.
Yeah.
And as the headwinds become more significant, we have significant headwinds now. Credit card debt, cost of living through the roof, inflation out of control still. People are spending less.
Yep.
And the brands, liquor, wine, beer, cider, that were run in a non-overextended capacity are the ones that are going to survive these headwinds. And you certainly saw Champion overextend itself. For a couple of years now, we've been saying, wow, he's opening Champion Grill in Stonefield. He's opening Passiflora. He's opening Brazier, how do you say it?
Brasserie Saison.
He's opening that. He's opening, what's the one next to it?
I don't know what
The
it's
market,
called.
the Brazier Market, or Cezette?
Suzette.
Right. And what was that? What was the concept of that storefront? Did you ever know?
No, I'm no idea.
Whose brew?
I think they were wine, but maybe.
Right. And we work downtown.
Yeah.
Whose brew? Another one, the coffee shop on High Street. A tap room in Lynchburg. One in Richmond. A fried chicken joint with Craig Hartman in Gordonsville. We were all wondering, how are all these individual restaurants being open under this hospitality group?
Yeah.
And now the writing is Reason Beer merger, getting Reason, buying the Reason brand, bought another brewery.
Yeah. And then didn't help it succeed.
Months later, that brewery's out of commish, right?
Yeah.
So the impact I'm seeing is headwinds for the industry. And the folks that practice a fiscally conservative mindset with finances and are not over-leveraged or overextended are the ones that are going to survive and manage the headwinds, capture market share from rivals and competitors, and then bring the A players from closed brands onto their teams.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for the booze brands that have cash on hand, cash to deploy, and strong balance sheets to take market share from competition.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen. I think we also need to ask ourselves, and I was literally just going to say that, Anonymous, who's watching the show, whether or not we are in a craft beer bubble. And Anonymous has this information for us via DM on Twitter. We love you, Anonymous, the deep throat of the I Love CVille network. The number of craft breweries in the United States went up about 2,000 to nearly 10,000 of them in the last decade.
Well,
Is local booze a bubble?
I think it's hard to say in today's economic climate. It would be easy to say that it is in a bubble, but I think there's also a certain amount of what you were talking about with inflation hitting hard, with the recession possibly here.
That's my point. You have
Depending-
so many headwinds here.
Yeah,
You have the
depending on
cost
your
of
view.
goods for making beer going through the roof. Have we all not noticed $8 pints? Have you?
I don't drink out much, but I'm not surprised.
$8 pints. The cost of goods to make the beer is expensive. The consumer's got tighter money than ever. The consumer's got more credit card debt than ever.
Yeah.
Half the consumer's take-home pay is going to housing, leaving 50% for groceries and the proverbial you-know-what that hits the fan and comes up randomly. That means less bellies at bars, more drinking at home.
Yeah.
The drinking at home that happens is at a much different margin for the beer brand
Yeah.
than at the tap room, where the margin's fat and great and welcome, because there's no middle people, distributors and grocery stores getting their cuts.
Right.
Is it a bubble? Is it a local booze bubble?
Could be.
And is that local booze bubble more exposed next year?
Oh, definitely.
You say no doubt.
Yeah. Next year is not going to bring wine and roses. I don't think. And yeah, anybody stuck out, overextended leverage-wise, credit-wise, is going to have a hard time.
Philip Dow leaves this comment. He's the king of Scottsville, Philip Dow. I'm going to say thank you for sharing this. Thank you for sharing this. How much you think a pint is at James River Brewery? We're talking in Scottsville.
I mean, do you just want me to guess a number?
What do you think it is? You're a common sense guy. What is a pint at James River Brewery in the town of Scottsville?
I don't know. $9?
$8 a pint.
Okay.
$8 a pint.
I thought you were going to say something absurd.
Here's why I bring this up. How much is a six-pack? $12?
Usually around that.
$12, right?
Where you go.
So here's what
certainly know the.
Here's what we got to ask ourselves. If a pint is $8 and a six-pack is $12, and we have financial headwinds coming that are much greater in 2023 than right now, doesn't the average Joe and the average Sally start weighing the scales of one pint at $8 that you then have to tip on, making it $9 or $10?
I'm sure a lot of those people have
versus
already.
the six-pack that is no tip at $12.
I'm sure a lot of people have already been weighing those scales for the last year. I mean, this year hasn't been a walk in the park for a lot of people either. So, I would be surprised if people are today, going to bars and tossing money at $8 pints.
Jason Howard says 3-Notch, Blue Mountain, Star Hill, and Devil's Backbone will take market share in this area if other local brands go under. I think the brands that are positioned to take market share from others are in this order. Number 1, Devil's Backbone, because of the Anheuser-Busch money behind it. Devil's Backbone, in a recession, is opening a tap room on West Main Street in the old Hardywood and the Skipping Rock location. In a recession, Devil's Backbone and the Anheuser-Busch money is expanding. The second local brand that's going to take market share, earn market share, is Star Hill. Star Hill's got some of that Corin Capshaw money and is an extremely well-capitalized local beer brand.
And both of them are in grocery store beer aisles.
They're everywhere. I mean, Devil's Backbone and Star Hill, you could make a legitimate case, has a national distribution footprint.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law routinely sends us photos of him in Connecticut where he sees Devil's Backbone on the shelves. So that speaks to their reach and how capitalized they are.
Yeah.
Okay, the third brand that I think is going to take market share is 3-Notch. I think the 3-Notch team understands business extremely well.
Yeah, they're solid. They've got great beers. They do a good job of switching things up. It's not just like five stable beers that they just repeat all year long. I mean, they put out some amazing beers, and and they cycle through. I mean, I love all of their Gozas. They come out with a new one like every season.
I love their IPAs. The Minuteman's my favorite beer. I've said routinely King of Clouds. Maybe replacing Minuteman as my favorite beer, and King of Clouds is a 3-Notch beer. One thing I'm going to be following very closely, I love 3-Notch. People watch this show know I love 3-Notch. I think Dave Warwick makes damn good beers.
Yeah.
I think Scott Roth knows how to run a business inside and out. I think George Cassadike understands vision and how to expand a brand and really grow a brand. I think George does a hell of a job behind the scenes and should get more credit than perhaps he does because he's behind the scenes. He doesn't get a lot of the notoriety. I think Derek does a great job as an evangelist or an ambassador of the brand. He's routinely at 3 Notch. I think this is what 3 Notch is going to have to be mindful of. They bought Wild Wolf Brewing Company. We were the first to let people know this. And on Route 150 Fun, the expansion plans for Wild Wolf of 3 Notch taking over this brewery. They bought the land, they bought the infrastructure, and they're going to completely rebrand it, and they're going to turn it into a Devil's Backbone base camp scenario where you're going to have live events, you're going to have live music, you're going to have liquor being distilled, you're going to have beer being brewed, and it's just going to be this epicenter for brand for 3 Notch. Now, this kind of development and this kind of evolution for 3 Notch is happening during a recession. When they made this purchase of Mary Wolf's and Danny Wolf's Wild Wolf brand, the economic climate was extremely different than what it is now.
Was it?
It was different. It was different.
Okay.
It was not nearly as headwind ridden as it is right now.
I mean, we're kind of in the middle of a pandemic, weren't we?
But
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just looking for clarification.
would you say, I would say the headwinds of the pandemic are not nearly as significant
Right.
as the headwinds now. And people are like, how do you say that? That's freaking crazy.
But you're thinking about 0% interest rates.
That's what I'm saying. You got
easy money to borrow.
easy money to borrow. Government was throwing these brands business stimulus money. The PPP money was everywhere. Stimulus money was everywhere. You could have gotten debt. You could have gotten loans to expand operations at interest rates that were basically nothing.
Yeah.
I know their team is physically very conservative, but how they manage this expansion and this development project of a new headquarters is going to be something that I watch closely. And I give them props because the future of their primary headquarters at Ix, I think, is a little uncertain because we know Alan Kajin and Ludwig Kutner are straight up trying to sell Ix Park. So having your headquarters at a place that's actively listed by very bottom line driven landlords, Alan Kajin and Ludwig Kutner, is cause for concern for any brand there.
Yeah.
The Champion news perhaps is an early stage indication of a local booze bubble. Also an indication of family money saying no more.
Yeah.
No more. To keep this operation going. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's fair.
I think everything we said was fair.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa Costello says it's free not to drink alcohol. It also does not cost friendships, family relationships, health, and employment issues. Drinking gets out of control. DUIs have a huge impact on a driver. It's a fair comment. It's free not to drink. I will highlight this. Lisa, I'm going to say I read this on there. Let me respond. I read this live on air. I will say this. The booze ecosystem creates a lot of economic opportunity for Central Virginia. Kevin Yancey says, remember Jerry, Wild Wolf had national distribution through Miller Coors as well. I will say this though, Kevin Yancey. I loved Mary Wolf. Huge fan of Mary Wolf.
Yeah.
I did not think the beer portfolio of Wild Wolf was to the standards that it needed to be.
Yeah. I could agree with that.
The beer scene right now is ridiculously competitive. And the number one aspect of a local brewery is brewing beer that people like. Blue Mountain has got great beers.
Yeah.
The Full Nelson, the Hopwork Orange, the stout it has, fantastic.
Yeah.
Star Hill has got almost household name beers. Northern Light's a household name. Devil's Backbone, the 8 Point has become a household name.
Definitely.
Three Notch, the Ghost, the Minuteman, the 40 Mile, you're talking household names here.
Yeah.
Wild Wolf had the Blonde Honey. Can someone name another beer that Wild Wolf had off the top of your head?
Primal something or other.
I think it was called was it the Primal Fear? Or is that the movie starring Richard Gere and Edward Norton that I love so much?
Could be both.
I think it could be both. Edward Norton was fantastic in Primal Fear. Did you ever watch that?
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater. It was amazing.
It was amazing. That movie had more twists and turns than the Rivanna Trail.
Yeah. When you get to the end, you're just like, no.
Yeah. You're just... I'm doing a quick Google search to see if it was the Primal Fear.
Not a big fan of that beer.
What's that?
I'm a big fan of the movie.
Well, you're not an IPA guy.
Yeah, but I used to drink a lot of...
It's called Primal Instinct.
Yeah. But I used to drink a lot of IPAs, and I did like some of them. And I just never... never got into
think about this. I'll ask you this question. In Charlottesville, Virginia, who can name the only brewery to go out of business? Who can name the only brewery to go out of business in Charlottesville, Virginia?
The only brewery to go
There's only been one so far.
Really?
Only one so far. We thinking Reason's going to be the second here. Reason Beer is going to be the second. Who can name the only brewery to go out of business in Charlottesville, in Charlottesville or Central Virginia?
I'm talking about the import from Richmond.
I wouldn't say Hardywood went out of business. I think Hardywood just closed its tap room on West Main Street.
That's fair.
Who can name the only brewery to go out of business in Charlottesville, Virginia? Seavillian Brewing Company. Curtis Shaver, bingo.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that one.
Curtis Shaver gets some props.
It's been a while.
Curtis Shaver knows beer like the Pope knows holy water. Curtis Shaver knows beer like Trey Anastasio knows green. That's for you, Curtis. He's right. Seavillian Brewing Company on West Main Street. The only one to go out of business.
Speaking of...
So we're going to say, is Reason the second one that's going to go in Charlottesville history? Charlottesville, Virginia history. Is Reason the second one to go now out of business? Certainly looking like that.
Time will tell.
Certainly looking like that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. What were you saying?
I was just going to, as an aside, say, speaking of Curtis Shaver, Curtis, would you call Peloton a sports bar? I know it's not sold as one, but
that's a good question.
I believe they've got screens. And
Peloton's a great spot to watch sports. Curtis Shaver, chef, part owner. Is Peloton? How would you describe Peloton as a sports bar if you had 5 words to describe Peloton? Would sports bar be one of the 5 words? We love Peloton.
Does a bar have to specifically be a sports bar in order to be counted as one of your sports bars? That's
a great question as well. He said yes, if he had 5 words to describe Peloton, sports bar would be one of them.
Cool.
So I think that is very cool. I have for you, Curtis Shaver. You know this as well as I do, and you're a huge sports fan. Loves the Pittsburgh Pirates, loves the Pittsburgh Steelers, loves the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not a huge fan, Curtis Shaver, of Tom Brady, although his beautiful fiance is. Great conversations in the. I saw the moniker that you guys used while lighting up your house on Facebook, and it made me laugh. Was it the Shaverman House? The combination of Freeman and Shaver? I think it was the Shaverman House. The house looks beautiful with the Christmas lights, by the way. Why do you think, Curtis, and viewers and listeners, there are not more straight-up sports bars in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia?
Could it be that there are enough bars that double as sports bars that nobody feels the need to specifically create a sports bar? I mean, I'm looking through and like Boylan. Would you consider Boylan a sports bar?
I'd say, would we consider Boylan Heights a sports bar?
Citizen? Would you consider Citizen? I mean, how many TVs does it take to make it a sports bar? What about Sedona Tap House?
I mean, Sedona Tap House in its name says tap house. Citizen Burger Bar says it's a burger bar.
So are you saying that disqualifies them?
Okay, then we need to identify what is the definition of a sports bar.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just asking.
What is the definition of a sports bar, viewers and listeners? And then let me ask you this question. Is anyone not surprised that there's no sports bar in Crozet? Where's someone going to watch sports in Crozet?
You're asking the wrong
Going
person.
to Pro Renata.
Yeah.
Where are you going to watch sports on the downtown mall?
I would say, I mean, if somebody asked me, I'd say try Citizen.
That's the only place, right?
What about Lucky Blues? They've got some TVs. They might show games. I mean, I honestly don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't go to bars much anyway.
You're not a huge sports fan anyway,
don't
right?
go to bars.
You're not
to
a huge
watch
sports fan. I get it. You're not a huge sports fan. I'm a
But
diehard sports fan.
Every time I've sat down at the bar in Citizen Burger Bar, there have been 4+ screens all playing sports on them.
Jason Howard, the king of Rio Road, says this. A number of years ago at a distributor meeting, I remember hearing that craft beer sales peaked at 18% of the total beer market. I would not say the bubble popped, but we are past the peak for sure. Seltzer has taken a huge chunk of available shelf space in the off-premise market, and it is not giving it back. As leases expire in the next few years, it would not be surprising to see some newer brands fold and close their operation. It's a good comment from Jason Howard. Seltzer, the Generation Z, I'm talking the 25-year-olds and under, it's all seltzer. It's all seltzer. And here's another thing that we need to focus on. As marijuana becomes more mainstream, and as marijuana becomes, in less than 2 years, we'll be able to start purchasing weed at retail stores in this area.
Most likely.
Beer brands would not be keeping their eye on their prize if they did not think that marijuana could take market share away from them.
Yeah.
You only have set amount of money for recreational activities every month. Mm-hmm. And I can assure you some of that set money is going to be cannibalized by weed. Do you agree? Offer me a take on that while I cough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
excuse me.
What was, a kind of backroom deal, go get your bag at, I don't know.
Are you blowing up the spot of your guy over here? What are you doing over there?
Behind a Wendy's dumpster.
What? What kind of green are you buying behind the Wendy's dumpster?
I have no idea.
Stems and seeds, dog. Stems and seeds.
The point being that as it becomes more readily available, yes, people will. I think people will be.
It's going to take market share from booze.
Spending more there, and yeah.
It's going to take market share away from booze.
And the longer this recession stays around, the more people are going to prioritize where they spend their money. Some things are going to go and some things are going to stay. And going out is going to take a back seat to staying in. Buying six-packs is going to become more popular than sitting at a bar and paying those prices, except on maybe special days, special outings. And yeah, I think as buying green becomes easier, people will find ways to make sure they've got enough money for that. So it might be keeping a growler around and going and getting that filled up. I don't know if that would be cheaper than buying six-packs. How much do growlers usually go for filled up these days?
Growler's more expensive than a six-pack.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking.
I mean, the growler you're filling up, now you get a little discount because it's a growler and you're taking it off site. The six-pack is going to be more affordable than a growler fill.
Okay.
James Watson makes this comment. He's the king of orbit. James Watson says, maybe we have not done well enough in football, sadly. If you visit Ohio State, you see lots of sports bars in Columbus. I wish Wild Wings in the Amtrak station would come back. Great comment. Wild Wings was a legit sports bar. Meredith Young, the talented realtor, it would be interesting to look at the economic statistics of similar cities that are a few years further down the road in regards to cannabis taking away the microbrew market. I'm thinking of Fort Collins, Colorado specifically. That's a great comment. Meredith Young, is this your first comment on the I Love CVille show? Maybe you've commented in the past. She's a realtor with Keller Williams Alliance. Meredith Young, fantastic comment. I would love to know that economic data as well. How has cannabis impacted market share of craft beer in Fort Collins, Colorado?
Yeah.
I would love to know that. What's on your mind over there? What are you looking at?
Nothing. I was just thinking about growler prices and looking that up.
You think the growler is less than the six-pack?
No, I'm curious. You gave a fairly quick blanket response that
I mean, six-pack is $12. Filling up a growler is going to be more than $12. I don't utilize the growler as my method for drinking beer. Is that fair? Is that Curtis? Can you give us some perspective on this? Jason Howard, can you give me some perspective on this? Yancey Higgins, James Watson, anyone know growler versus six-pack price? Anyone? $12 is going to be tough to beat for 6 beers. You find any prices over there?
Looks like the average for a 64. Looks like the average is about $11 to $13
for 64 ounces.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's probably slightly above.
12-pack, you get
average,
72 ounces.
Your average six-pack. Your
12
average six-pack. There are six-packs out there that run, a lot more than $10 or $11.
Yeah, but there are growler fills that run a lot more than that too, because you're using the high-octane beer or the beer that's brewed in small batch that they don't have a lot of.
I'm saying that you can't just blanket statement that all growlers.
My blanket statement was a growler on average costs more than a six-pack, and you're saying I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I said, and you've said that I'm right.
All right.
I said, on average, a six-pack costs more than a growler.
I'm not arguing with
That's
you.
literally what I said. And
I'm
you're saying
not
I can't blanket statement it. You're saying you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth now.
I've said something and then you started fighting me on it. And
I didn't start fighting you on it. You're being sensitive.
Argument.
You're being sensitive.
I'm not.
I said a six-pack on average is cheaper than a growler. That's all I've said.
Yeah.
And you said I'm right.
All right.
Okay, that's all I've said. That's all I've said. Someone needs a mediator over here for the two of us today. Can we get any Fort Collins data about cannabis?
Fort Collins.
Fort Collins, Colorado. Give me a little Fort Collins, Colorado and cannabis.
I'm not sure what you're looking for.
I mean, Meredith makes a great point. I'd love to see what small towns equivalent in size to Charlottesville, how cannabis has eroded market share from craft beer. Because I think once cannabis becomes legal for retail, you'll see craft beer dollars head, at least in some part, to cannabis. There's only X amount of dollars a household has to spend or an individual has to spend. Meredith says, depends on if you plan on drinking the growler all at once. There's more flexibility with the six-pack versus a growler, in my opinion. I agree. I 100% agree with that. The six-pack is going to last you a while longer. Jason Howard says, a growler fill could be cheaper on a special, but it is not going to last nearly as long as 6 individually filled bottles or cans. Growler goes flat inside a week. Kevin Yancey says, most potheads are drinkers. My point is that there's only a limited amount of money that an individual or a family has, especially in a recession. That's my point. So as weed becomes much more readily available, I think that is going to take market share away from at least some part craft beer. Any Fort Collins data? I know I'm asking you that on the fly, and that's a difficult topic to find on the fly.
I mean, most of what I'm seeing is about how they're using hemp in their beers now, so not a whole lot on...
Okay, we'll look at that. That's a good comment from you, Meredith. All right, one other topic that I want to get to. And do we know, was James, what James said is right, that we don't have the sports bars around here because the football team's not good?
You're asking me?
No, I'm asking the viewers and listeners, not you. You don't watch sports.
I know. That's why I was surprised you looked
Yeah,
like
I'm
you're
asking the
me.
viewers and listeners. I think that is a large part of it. Maybe it's because there's no pro team here and because the college football team struggles.
Yep.
I mean, maybe that's the reason. All right, last question. Who is the most marketable UVA athlete that's active right now? Brennan Armstrong does not count. Brennan Armstrong has entered into the transfer portal. We can go on a one-shot here, and then we can bring you back in on a two-shot for some final thoughts. Who is the most marketable, active UVA athlete? Not Brennan Armstrong, the quarterback anymore. He's in the transfer portal. Look, for me, it's a clear-cut 2 athletes. The most marketable, active UVA athletes right now are Samantha Brunell, UVA women's basketball team, and Kie Clark, who just signed a name, image, likeness deal with Roback, a brand that was birthed at the Darden School at UVA. Roback is a fantastic brand. Roback, we would kill it for you guys with I Love Seville, with driving sales to your business. We should do a deal, I Love Seville and Roback. Someone tell Roback that. We would kill it for you guys. We should do a partnership, a JV, a joint venture, Roback and I Love Seville. The most marketable UVA athletes are Kie Clark and Sam Brunell, basketball players. Kie Clark is marketable because he's a household name. This is his 5th year of playing basketball in Charlottesville. Kie Clark is marketable because he's won a national championship. He's marketable because he's the point guard and routinely has the ball in his hands. And he's marketable, perhaps most importantly, because of his stature. Here's a guy who's 5'7", 5'8". When you're 5'7", 5'8", and you're playing basketball, you're relatable. You're like the average guy. There's a reason people love Steph Curry. There was a reason people love Spud Webb. They're not 6'10", jumping out of the gym with verticality. They're just average guys in stature. Kie Clark, when someone who's 12 years old, a kid who's 12 years old or 13 years old, sees Kie Clark, they say, man, that guy's the same size as me. I can do this as well. So they're approachable and they identify with Kie Clark. You add all those factors, 5'7", 5'8", 5 years of household name, talented player, national champion, and I would say he is arguably the most marketable active athlete at the University of Virginia. A close second is Samantha Brunell. She's a product of Greene County Schools. Her family is extremely active in this community. Her mother, Katie Brunell, is a head honcho in Greene County Schools. Her father's a talented real estate agent. Samantha Brunell is a hell of a basketball player. Started her career at Notre Dame, has Team USA experience. Arguably the face of UVA women's basketball now after transferring from Notre Dame. And let's cut to the chase. We're talking about branding and marketability. She's beautiful. A model playing basketball. And I assure you that plays a factor in branding and marketability. Your face is going to have to go on stuff. Close second, Samantha Brunell, Kie Clark, number one, your most marketable, brandable athletes that you can build a campaign around. Anything you want to add, Judah Wickower, as we go back to it too?
No, I think you're right.
James Watson says Jay Woolfolk in the 3 slot. James Watson is suggesting Jay Woolfolk because Jay Woolfolk is a 2-sport star. He's a quarterback on the UVA football team, and he's a pitcher on the UVA baseball team. Jay Woolfolk is a good, marketable athlete if he can take his play on the diamond or on the gridiron to another levels. Right now, Jay Woolfolk has not done much in football. In fact, you can make a legitimate argument that Jay Woolfolk's best professional career is baseball, as a guy who hits 100 miles an hour as a relief pitcher for Brian O'Connor's baseball team. Right now, he's an unknown in football. If you ask people who Jay Woolfolk was, a lot of people would not know who he was. I think he has potential as a 2-sport star, though, James. I think that's a very good comment. Today's show was good for a Friday. Anything you want to add or close with for the viewers and listeners? Your many fans that love the charisma, the charm, the outgoing personality, the vivaciousness of Judah B. Wickower.
Has that ever been used to describe me? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say you're vivacious. You don't think you're vivacious?
Perhaps I am.
What's that?
Perhaps I am.
Do you have any closing thoughts, vivacious Judah Wickower?
Have a great weekend.
Oh,
Stay warm.
great weekend.
I think it's going to be cold tomorrow.
Very good closing thoughts there.
Eh?
Have a great weekend and stay warm. Okay. It's important to stay warm. I agree. Stay warm and have a great weekend. I'll close with this. And it's a recap of the show. Katrina Colson, delegate, expect that news soon. Watch closely to what Dave Norris does and what Ned Galloway does. And let's follow closely to see if Sonia Smith can influence Zy Bryant to jump in this race. I think that seat is going to be contested hotly. UVA Foundation has promoted Russ Kronberg as the Director of Hospitality. He now will oversee the Boar's Head Resort, the Sports Club, Birdwood Golf, and the Conference Center and Hotel that will soon be finished along Ivy Road. That's big time. Kronberg knows what he's doing. I'm wondering if the Champion news of Champion struggling in many different capacities, now outsourcing brewing its beer to a brewery in North Carolina, D9, according to ABC Labeling, is the first indication of a potential bubble in local beer in the Central Virginia market. I give James River Brewery props for winning Brewery of the Year. And then I'll close with why no other places that focus on TV settings all over their walls to capture sports fans. Peloton's a great spot. Citizen's a great spot. Pro Renata's a great spot. But where is the Die Hard Sports Bar? That's the show. Judah and Jerry, I Love CVille Show.